Hi folks, Slick Slices here. Now, I did the Williams Knife Life's open tag small lockbacks. So today it's the second of his open tags, which was medium lockbacks. Now, there may be a large one coming, but I'm a bit short. Well, it's difficult to know what's large and what's medium, but I'll give you some idea of where I think it is. This is obviously this is the Buck 110. That's pretty large lockback, and this little Spyderco. I think it's a ladybug. It's difficult to know what the name was for it 25 years ago when I got it. This is pre-clip, pocket clip days, so it's quite an old Spyderco. But as I said in the other one, I quite like lockbacks because of the ambidextrous nature of them. So I'm just going to go through a few that I think would fall into the medium-sized category, but showing you the small and the large one here is to give you some idea of where I think the extremes lie and why I think these are perhaps medium. And I think you could reasonably say that this little Moki here, which is the Kronos, it's called, would fall into that idea of medium, and everything else is probably going to be comparable to that. So there we have the Kronos. Now this is in bone stag handles, extremely shiny blade, and a really, really beautiful little. And I think this does fall into that much abused category of the gentleman's folder. It's just a pretty little knife. It's got a much bigger handle than the blade, so it makes it sort of relatively non-threatening. You've got this nice cut swedge on both sides. This one is in, I think it's VG10. Yeah, VG10 steel. Certainly it's made by Moki in Seki City in Japan. And one of the things I collect is Japanese knives. So this and that's little Spyderco fall into that Japanese category because they're made in Seki City. And I suspect they may even both be made by Moki, because Moki are very well known for making knives for other people. They used to make knives for Almar, and Almar introduced Sal Glesser to Seki City, and so I suspect it's very likely that that's where he went to get his first Spydercos made, when he first went into the knife making rather than just knife sharpening business. This is another Moki. This is called the Pliant, and it's both these come in different sizes. The Kronos comes in a larger size, same as this. The Pliant comes in size the same as the Kronos, and also has a smaller version called the Meek, which actually one day I'd quite like to get, because as I say, it's even smaller than this and would fall into that small lockbacks category, which is something I've always rather liked. What's next in terms of size? Guessing a wee bit here, but there's a Rough Rider, a couple of Rough Riders that fall into this category. I think it's called the French Tickler, would you believe, which is a little bit interesting name. It's sort of a toothpick, but the powder horn isn't quite as sharp as you might expect for a toothpick. And it's a lockback, and toothpicks generally aren't lockbacks. It also perhaps maybe is a nod to Laguiole. Perhaps that's why it's called the French Tickler. I don't know, but it's it's a nice looking little knife, and again it's a lockback. Unfortunately, see, these are pretty much ambidextrous, no shields on them. Nail nick is the only perhaps giveaway, because suddenly here we have a shield, I kind of forgive it on this because I think this particular jigging pattern that Rough Rider do is just not very nice. Just looks, just not very attractive. I have a couple of knives in that, and it kind of spoils them for me. I've another Rough Rider, which I think falls into the sodbuster, a small sodbuster pattern. I think the sodbuster pattern, isn't clearly defined except by Casey's trademark, perhaps. But as a sort of general thing, I think this doesn't have as much belly towards the tip here, which is a little bit different for a sodbuster, but I think generally it probably falls into that pattern. It's a lock back, as I say. This is one of those knives that costs 10 quid or 12 quid or something like that, and I think you get quite a lot of knife for your money. It's good wooden scales, lock back, as I say. Of course, it's 440A blade. That's perhaps not surprising. It's just what you get if you get a Rough Rider. How much do you expect for that sort of price? Then we have here a Mazarin. Now, this was advertised as S35 VN, I think, and actually, of course, when it arrived, it turned out to be, I think it's N690, which is actually more what you would expect. It does say on it what it is. Yeah, N690, which, being an Italian knife is what you would perhaps be more expecting of it. And there's nothing wrong with N690. I just think it would have been nicer if it had been what was advertised. So I was a little bit riled about that. It is a very attractive knife. It's got this really good file work on the back. I suspect it's machine done rather than hand filed. I don't know that, but I just suspect it is. Got the liners as well as the back spring and the back of the blade are all done. The other thing that disappointed me with this knife is that side of the handle is a really nice burl wood, and that side of the knife is a really nice burl wood, but it doesn't match. One's more sort of browny and one's more sort of greeny. So in some ways I was a bit disappointed with this knife. The other thing is it doesn't have a nail neck, and so you have to pinch it open, and sometimes I can do it and sometimes I can't. And that makes it one of those knives that I'm inclined not to carry, just because it can be a bit infuriating when you want to open it. I have another Mazarin, which I don't have here, which has really nice stag covers. It does have a nail neck, and the reason it's not here is because it's on my other desk, because I use it as an everyday user knife. Now, where does medium become large? That would be my question. So let me just push these to the side for a minute, and I'm going to go through some of my other. The other one that's missing there, of course, is my Falkneyman TK3, which was in a recent video. It's in desert ironwood handles. So I do have some other lockbacks, and I don't know whether these start to fall into, where these cross over into the large size. This one here is a Boca Plus, Boca Magnum, which was a gift to me from my soon-to-be son-in-law and my daughter. And Magnum obviously is the budget range of Boca. So you have this sort of Soligan-made knives, and then you have the Boca Plus, which are Chinese-made, and then you have Boca Magnum, which are also Chinese-made. And this is very much the budget end of their scale, but this is really quite a nice knife. It's 440A steel, so you could say it's sort of Rough Rider territory, but in some ways it's Rough Rider prices as well. Perhaps a little bit more than Rough Rider, although the deal that Lewis got on this would suggest it actually would be firmly in the Rough Rider sort of price range. So that's a nice knife, but it's starting to get a little bit larger. Another one, and this again was a gift. This was a gift from my son, actually. I think he found it. He's a landscape gardener and stuff, and he came across this and he handed it to me. It was in a bit of a state. I mean, it was blunt for one thing. It's still, the blade's still a bit scratched, and I just can't do much about that. And I think it's just a cheap Chinese made, could be made in Sheffield, but it's probably Chinese made. There's nothing on it to say, just the only thing on it is the word stainless. But it kind of got me started in this, because I really liked this hawkbill pruner shape, and I used it for opening things and stuff like that, which is very good for opening boxes and stuff. And I wanted one that I could carry, so I bought an Arthur Wright pruner, and that kind of started me down the Sheffield pocket knife rabbit warren. Talking of sort of traditional designs, though, this here, the K55K or Makata pocket knives, and these are very classic German pattern of lockback, made in Solingen. Now they're again a very budget sort of orientated thing, in that you have really just sort of almost Higa Nakami style folded over piece of steel, except of course these have got a lockback rather than just the pressure of your thumb on the back of the blade to keep them open. I have a couple of these. That one is the traditional black one, known as the Black Cat knife, and then I've got a brass one. Now these are made by Otter these days in Solingen, and so this one is branded as Otter. It's quite a stiff action, because I've never actually carried this knife, and it has a picture of an otter on it rather than cat. And I also noticed it's the other way up, which I thought was an interesting design choice. The shields on knives are generally read the same way up as the K55K knife, so they're effectively upside down when they're open. This one is the right way up when it's open, which is quite nice. Now, Arthur Brem is a German YouTuber who has designed a couple of three knives, one of which he did for QSP, and that was this one, which is the QSP Worker, and it comes in various finishes. Move these a wee bit, I'm running out of space here. This one is in snakewood. You can also get it in G10, and I actually bought Lewis, the guy that bought me that one, I bought him one of these for Christmas, not last Christmas but the year before. I got him the G10 version, so because he could use it at work, and this is a classic Siemens shaped knife, so for rope work, and he is an officer on a boat, so I thought it might be a good one for him. Unfortunately, these come extremely sharp, and the first thing he did was cut his thumb from top to bottom on Christmas Day. Luckily, my daughter's a nurse, so she sorted him out, and my daughter being his fiance. Anyway, so I really like that knife. It's the only one, I think, of all my lockbacks that has a pocket clip on it. Now, my Dragonfly had one, but I took it off. This also comes with a really nice leather sheath, actually. But this one is an attempt at being modern. And the other thing that's modern about it is that it has a ball bearing action, which has caught me out, actually, because if you do this, what I'm about to do, without due care, you can hurt yourself. But if you press that lock down, it drops. And if you've not got it quite the right angle, it'll spring onto your finger and cut you. But it does have, though this has got a nail nick, which I think is right, it has quite a lot of blade that you can grab, and it's sufficiently wedge-shaped that you can grab it and open it. And then I have one more lockback, other than, of course, my 110. One more lockback, which is another Rough Rider, and this is a monster of a thing. This is called the Sous Chef, and this has, not only has it got a very light action, you can drop it open. I don't know if that showed on camera, but there's not really a lot of room to do it under the camera. I throw it at the other knives, but yeah, if you hold it by the kind of spidey hole, give it a wee flick, it'll drop to open. Now this is a huge knife. I'll lay it on top there because it's just not going to fit otherwise. You know, it dwarfs even the 110. It's longer and it's broader. Very thin, slicey blade. And actually, I mean, it's designed as a chef's knife. It looks like a Santoku knife for those dents in the ground out of the blade. And that's really what it's supposed to be, and it works very well as that. Of course, it's 440A steel because it's a Rough Rider, so you know, it's not going to stay sharp desperately long. Maybe as a camp cook knife rather than one you're actually going to use in your kitchen, but you could use it in your kitchen. I don't think I've ever actually cut anything other than a piece of paper with it though. But that is the last of my lockback knives. As I say, I don't have a huge collection, but I do like them because of the ambidextrous nature of them. And talking of like, if you like this stuff, give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more of it, please subscribe. And if you want to actually get notifications of what's happening, please remember to ring the notification bell. Thank you very much. Goodbye.